In the year 1299, in a small corner of Anatolia, a tiny tribe would begin one of the greatest empires in history. No one could have imagined that this little frontier state would one day rule 3 continents. Its founder was a man named Osman, a leader with a bold vision and an unbreakable will. Legend says Osman had a dream that would shape the destiny of his people. In the dream, a mighty tree grew from his chest, its branches covering the whole world. The tree symbolized an empire that would stretch across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Inspired by this vision, Osman united the warrior tribes around him. These warriors were called Ghazis, fierce, loyal, and hungry for conquest. Osman began raiding the lands of the weakening Byzantine Empire. Town by town, fortress by fortress, his small state began to grow. When Osman died, his son Orhan took command, and he had even bigger ambitions. In 1326, Orhan captured the great city of Bursa and made it his capital. Bursa became the beating heart of the young Ottoman state. Orhan built mosques, schools, and markets. The frontier state was becoming a real power. But Orhan's greatest creation was a new kind of army. He formed an elite force of highly trained, loyal soldiers. These soldiers would later become the legendary Janissaries. The Janissaries were feared across every battlefield they entered. With this army, the Ottomans crossed into Europe for the first time. They set foot in the Balkans, and the world would never be the same. City after city in the Balkans fell to the unstoppable Ottoman advance. Adrianople, one of the greatest Byzantine cities, was taken and renamed Edirne. Edirne became the new Ottoman capital in Europe, a launchpad for further conquest. The Christian kingdoms of Europe grew terrified of this rising power. In 1389, a massive Christian coalition gathered to stop the Ottomans at Kosovo. The Battle of Kosovo was brutal, bloody, and decisive. Sultan Murad was killed, but the Ottomans won a crushing victory. His son Bayezid took the throne. They called him the Thunderbolt. Bayezid moved with terrifying speed, crushing enemies before they could react. He defeated a huge European crusade at the Battle of Nicopolis in 1396. At the height of his power, Bayezid believed he was invincible. But from the east came a new and terrifying conqueror, Timur, also known as Tamerlane. Timur had already conquered vast lands from Persia to India. In 1402, the 2 great powers clashed at the Battle of Ankara. It was a catastrophe. Bayezid's army was shattered and he himself was captured. The mighty Thunderbolt died in captivity. The empire was thrown into chaos. Bayezid's sons fought each other for the throne in a brutal civil war. This dark period was called the Interregnum. The empire nearly collapsed. For 11 years, the future of the Ottoman state hung by a thread. But against all odds, the empire survived and was reunited by Mehmed I. The empire slowly healed its wounds and rebuilt its strength. Under Murad II, the Ottomans returned stronger than ever. He crushed rebellions and pushed deep into the Balkans once again. At the Second Battle of Kosovo, he defeated another great European army. But Murad's greatest legacy was his son, a boy destined for greatness. His name was Mehmed, and he burned with a single obsession. That obsession was the greatest city in the world, Constantinople. For 1,000 years, Constantinople had never fallen to any invader. Its legendary walls had defeated every army that dared to attack it. When Murad died, young Mehmed became sultan, and he had one goal. Mehmed was only 21 years old, but his ambition was limitless. He knew that taking Constantinople would require something no one had ever done. First, he built a mighty fortress on the Bosphorus to cut off the city. The fortress was built in just 4 months. It controlled all passage by sea. Then Mehmed commissioned the largest cannons the world had ever seen. One giant cannon was so huge it took 60 oxen to move it. These monster guns could smash through walls that had stood for 1,000 years. By the spring of 1453, Mehmed's grand army gathered before the city. Over 80,000 soldiers stood ready to make history. Inside the city, only 7,000 defenders prepared for the impossible. On the 6th of April, 1453, the Great Siege of Constantinople began. The giant cannons roared, pounding the ancient walls day and night. Sections of the legendary walls began to crumble under the barrage. But every night, the defenders desperately repaired the broken walls. Wave after wave of attacks crashed against the defenders, They held firm. The Byzantines had one great advantage, a massive chain across the harbor. The chain blocked the Ottoman fleet from entering the Golden Horn. So Mehmed did something no one thought possible. He had his ships dragged overland on greased logs across the hills. In a single night, 70 ships appeared inside the harbor. The defenders were stunned. With the harbor breached, the defenders were now surrounded on all sides. The siege had lasted nearly 2 months. Both sides were exhausted. Mehmed offered the city one final chance to surrender. It was refused. The Emperor Constantine vowed to defend his city to the very last breath. Mehmed prepared for one final, massive assault. On the night of May the 28th, an eerie silence fell over the city. Inside the great church of Hagia Sophia, people gathered to pray. They knew that dawn would bring either salvation or destruction. Before sunrise, Mehmed gave the order. The final attack began. Waves of soldiers threw themselves at the walls with terrifying fury. The first waves were thrown back. The defenders fought like lions. Then Mehmed sent in his most elite troops, the Janissaries. The Janissaries surged forward with unstoppable discipline and courage. In the chaos, a small gate was found left unlocked. Ottoman soldiers poured through and raised their banner on the walls. Seeing the banner, panic spread through the exhausted defenders. Emperor Constantine threw off his royal robes and charged into the fight. He was never seen again, dying as a defender of his beloved city. By that afternoon, the 1,000-year-old city had finally fallen. After more than 1,000 years, Constantinople was Ottoman. On a white horse, Mehmed rode into the conquered city. He was only 21, and he had achieved the impossible. From that day, he would be known as Mehmed the Conqueror. He rode straight to the great church of Hagia Sophia. He was stunned by the beauty of the ancient cathedral. He ordered it preserved and transformed into a grand mosque. Mehmed declared Constantinople the new capital of his empire. He rebuilt the city, inviting people of all faiths to live there. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves across the entire world. Many historians say this moment ended the Middle Ages forever. With his new capital secured, Mehmed's ambitions only grew larger. He expanded the empire across the Balkans, Greece, and the Black Sea. He built a powerful navy that dominated the Eastern Mediterranean. The Ottoman Empire was becoming a true superpower of the age. Mehmed created a sophisticated system of laws and administration. Scholars, artists, and merchants flocked to the thriving empire. The empire blended cultures from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. The Grand Bazaar of Istanbul became a center of world trade. Ottoman power now stretched across 2 continents, and the empire Mehmed built would endure for centuries to come. After Mehmed, the empire kept rising under bold new sultans. One of the fiercest was Selim I, known as Selim the Grim. Selim turned the empire's might toward the east. He defeated the mighty Persian Empire at the Battle of Chaldiran. Then he conquered Syria, Egypt, and the holy cities of Arabia. With these conquests, the Sultan became the caliph of the Islamic world. The empire doubled in size in just a few short years. Ottoman wealth and power reached staggering new heights. The stage was now set for the empire's greatest ruler yet. His name would echo through history, Suleiman the Magnificent. Suleiman ruled for 46 years, the longest of any Ottoman sultan. Under him, the empire reached the peak of its power and glory. In Europe, they called him Suleiman the Magnificent. His armies marched deep into Europe, conquering Hungary. He crushed the Hungarian army at the Battle of Mohacs in 1526. In 1529, his forces reached the gates of Vienna itself. All of Europe trembled at how far the Ottomans had come. But Suleiman was not only a conqueror, he was a great lawgiver. He reformed the laws so completely that his people called him the lawgiver. Under him, art, poetry, and architecture flourished like never before. The great architect Sinan built breathtaking mosques across the empire. The skyline of Istanbul became one of the wonders of the world. The empire now ruled over 25 million people. It stretched across 3 continents, from Vienna to the Indian Ocean. The Ottoman Empire had become the most powerful state on earth. From a tiny tribe of a few hundred warriors, an empire of millions had risen. In just 2 centuries, the Ottomans had transformed the world. They built one of the longest-lasting empires in human history. Their armies, their laws, and their culture shaped 3 continents. The empire would endure for over 600 years. But its rise remains one of the most remarkable stories ever told. How did a small frontier state achieve such greatness? It was through vision, ambition, and relentless determination. Leaders like Osman maimed, and Suleiman dared to dream big. They turned a simple dream into one of history's greatest empires. The rise of the Ottoman Empire teaches us the power of bold ambition, that even the smallest beginnings can lead to the greatest heights. The story of their rise still fascinates the world today. An empire born from a single dream on the plains of Anatolia. If you enjoyed this journey through history, subscribe for more epic stories.